Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. So my name is Oleg. I am gonna be your host today, and I was doing bicycles since I was teenager when there was no computers publicly available and there was no internet, so there was very low resources to learn. Today we have YouTube and many other resources to learn. That's why I'm making this video to give you kind of warning what you shouldn't do when you buy the new bicycle and what you should do at beginning when you buy electric bicycle as a first time, because many people are buying some of the powerful bicycle as beginners and they never have experience with all the features, like for example the gold bicycle comes versus to another one I have over here, more mechanical brakes and other stuff. I'll show you the difference and show you what you should do on hydraulic brakes and you shouldn't do as first time when you got the bicycle. I'm not professional mechanic, so I only show you what I learned from my experience. And again, if you have any comments to leave in below under the video. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel to more videos like this as 101. This one is going to be in series of e-bike 101, so I will try to show you what you shouldn't do or what you should do. So I noticed a lot of posts in the group of good power bicycle fan group, and not only that, there's many different brands and always this post about I just got the bicycle, how to do this, how to do that. And every time when I do a video about electric bicycle, I usually do unboxing video. That's why if you see any bicycle I reviewed, like I usually do only assembly and to show you step by step. I know it will take some time for somebody who never did it before. Sometimes it's too hard to do for somebody who never did electric bicycle before. That's why I always recommend to take it to professional bike shop to pay small fee. It will be very beneficial for you, and maybe you can learn something while you're waiting, if they assemble while you're waiting, or at least they will do it the right way. So let's say about good bicycles, good power bikes actually. So once you receive any bike actually, so it's going to be a big box, like small one, like 1 baht. It's arrived in fully assembled actually, so there's not much you need to do other than just reattach the handlebar and you're ready basically to ride. But first things you need to do when you receive the bicycle, make sure the box is not damaged. If you see any damage on your bike, on the box, make a pictures, make a video, and then start to open it. So a lot of people try to open it and try not to open with a sharp knife, because sometimes, well, the box is okay to open with sharp knife, but to removing the zip tie, you need to be very careful as well. So let's say you remove everything and you find some damages on the bicycle. I recommend to take the pictures, video, and send it to the support with a copy of the box, because this damages was done actually during the shipment. If you bought insurance through the companies, usually they offer insurance right now, then you probably need to file the claim with the insurance company. Some company would send you a part or help you to get it resolved, but you would need to contact support versus to go in a different group and post this video, because the group members will not really help you to resolve any damages to your bike. They will not pay for your damages. They will not do anything to it. So you're just wasting your time. So don't waste your time. Get the pictures, get the video, send it to support. Doesn't matter if it's 1 baht, gold, any bicycle, rave, any electric bicycle, like electric XP, like any bicycle, you do exactly the same. Making pictures, sending to support with all the damages. So let's say you don't find any damages, everything looks good, great. Now you need to assemble. Since I mentioned before, this bicycle is easy to assemble because it's fully assembled, so there's not much to do other than putting some air pressure. But before putting air pressure, you need to charge the battery. Battery located in different locations. Most bicycles right now come with a removable battery. You can charge it on the bike or you can remove it. So I recommend to remove it and charge it in a cool area. So because some people keep it in the garage, the garage right now in California getting over 100 degrees, so it's very hot. So I usually keep the battery inside the house in cool area, so you would have to charge the battery. Charge the battery not until 100% on the display. Charge the battery until the charging block is green. Okay, so once you charge the battery, and I have video actually, I will post a link in description how to take care of the battery charging and so on. So it will give you some idea how to take care of the battery for long run. So number one, make sure you charge the battery before you start to ride for the first time, even before you turn on the bike. Second, you want to make sure the brake setup is right, so there's no rubbing, and also the tire pressure. Follow whatever recommendation on the tire, or put 5 psi below what's the maximum listed, but you can always adjust it to low, because depending on your weight, condition you're gonna ride. So that's something you might want to ask in a group. But again, when you make a post, regardless of which bike you bought, Ride One Up, whatever bike you buy, make sure when you post the question, list your weight, because in terrain you're gonna ride, because you put different pressure for different terrain and different weight personal. So it's kind of personal things, but again, there's some kind of minimum. Usually on fat bicycles, some of them comes as minimum of 2 psi, some of them comes as 5 psi, some of them 6 psi. So with a slimmer tires like this bike, have a little bit less, higher psi minimum, because I believe like 30, 35 sometimes. So it's all should be listed on the tires. If you don't know, you might want to email the support for exactly minimum. Okay, so that's a next step you need to do. Then important to check the brakes. That's number one actually. Important way to check, to make sure they are not touching the pads. You spin the wheel, but I noticed many people what they do, since the bicycle very heavy, and I'm trying to stay in the shade right now because it's very hot actually. So I'm recording from the distance. So most bicycles very heavy. This one is like 43 pounds with the battery, so it's pretty light. I can use a bike stand, which inexpensive for under 80 pounds. I have like bike stand, I think it was like 50 something dollars. I might leave it in description, so if you need one for lighter bicycle. But when you get like heavy bicycle like this, then this not really stand will hold it much, because this bike about 100 pounds with a battery. Even you remove the battery, it will be still about 90 pounds something. So I usually put stand underneath, like a chair small, and leave the front wheel, spin it, and check everything, like tire, like I would check the brakes and so on. And I also insert the wheel. I usually insert the wheel while the bike standing like this. I usually never flip over. That's another problem when people start to flip over the bicycles. I will explain what the problem you're gonna face when you have hydraulic brakes. So let's say Goat bike comes with hydraulic brakes, while other bicycle might come with mechanical. There's no oil, there's only cable with mechanical, so nothing will happen when you flip it over, so there's no problem with that. Just make sure you would loosen up some display so it will not break when you flip it over. Same thing with a Goat bike, make sure nothing will get damaged when you flip it over. But just keep in mind, if you flipped over bicycle which is with hydraulic brakes, there's oil inside, and the oil actually located in this wire right over here. So number one things to do, to remember, if you flipped over the bicycle with the hydraulic brakes, when you put it back on the wheels, you need to wait for some time, or you can do like this to build up the pressure. You just quickly to build up the pressure, and you're gonna feel it. Otherwise, when you flip it over, sometimes it might get squishy, so this level will touch the handlebar. Okay, so that's normal when you flip, because the oil will travel, and that usually happens. And some people start to panic, and oh, my brakes is not working. They start to make posts, they start to worry. Some of the people start to work on the brakes without even knowing how to fix it. this just start to turn up different bolts, like this one, underneath. From another side, I'll show you as well. So these bolts are not meant to be touched by a non-professional. Hey guys, so I'm back. My phone actually shut down because of the heat. We have about over 100 degrees outside, so it's too hot. But I'm in shade, so I'm good. So let's go back to the brakes. So make sure to check before panicking, to do like this. So when you flip it back on the tires, or anytime when you feel like it's a little bit squishy, try to pump. Okay, it will build up some air. Never ever, unless you professionally know what you are doing, touch this bolt underneath the sensor. Never touch it. This bolt, actually this one is for refilling the oil, but do not touch it if you don't know. So don't touch it until do some research, watch some video, or better take it to the bike shop. I never touch this bolt, the red one. Every company would have different color and so on. Versus to mechanical brakes can be adjusted with twisting over here, so we will pull the cable, or you can adjust it right over here. You can adjust the cable pull, you can adjust from another side. So there's many ways to adjust the brakes on mechanical. With hydraulic brakes, there's only one way to adjust actually. That's why many people start to screw around, I guess, with all the bolts and nuts on the bike without even know or compare, like, since they have prior experience. When I got first bicycle with disc, we didn't have a YouTube, so I took my bike to the bike shop. They touched the disc, calipers, everything. They turn it up. I pay them fee, and I was happy to ride it. Now we have YouTube, so you can do by yourself if you want to, but if you're not comfortable, you can always take to the bike shop. It's not very expensive. As some people say, it may cost you a few bucks, maybe 30 bucks, 20, I don't know, it depends on your area. So if you decide to adjust, let's say, brakes, first some people want to adjust the brakes just to make this level closer to handlebar. Those bolts will not do any job for that. It's not meant for this, okay? On the side over here, it's a small screw, or whatever you call bolt screw, which should be, I didn't try it, but usually should turn right or left, and that will affect on go a little bit closer or away from handlebar. Some bicycle, like Rave bicycle, or some other brakes like Lucky, like these brakes, as you can see, they do come with a knob. You can simply turn the knob and they will change the position or leveler. So that those brakes have small knob over here. If you don't see any knob, then you have to use Allen key, but again, I would not touch it until you research, make sure this bolt actually for this purpose. Okay, every bicycle brand may be different. I'm making this video as generic, not only for goat bicycles, for all hydraulic brakes, because they might be completely looking differently. But all electric bicycles would have like hydraulic or mechanical brakes, and 99% would have like with oil. If it's hydraulic, one cable will be oil, as you can see. And you can always check to make sure there is no oil. So if you don't feel like pressure over here when you push and you see some oil, so you might have oil leak, then you might want to tighten up this bolt on top to make sure there is no oil leak, and then put it back, okay? Because if you unscrew it, this is a cable for oil which connect the caliper and going inside. So versus to mechanical, there is pulling cable inside, but they would still have, even mechanical would have power cutoff. That's another problem happens, and I do have the video when you have issue when your throttle is not working, or when your pedal assist and throttle will not work. So that means you might have first step, easiest way to figure out if your brakes sensor is activated. It's located right underneath over here. It's a little bit smaller cable It's more flexible because it's a electric cable, and usually you can find a plug right over here from both sides. So you disconnect this plug usually to diagnose, to make sure if the brakes affecting the throttle, okay? But you do this step by step. As I said before, don't try to fix anything until you check electrical. And it's the same thing on these mechanical brakes. It's right here located underneath. This is electric, and this is sensor as well. So over here you can simply unscrew it with hands actually and replace if you need to. I'm not sure where is the plug. There might be not even plug. It might just connect it directly to controller. Some bicycles don't have the plugs like goat bicycle like this, so it's much a bit harder to troubleshoot, but looks like you can unscrew it. So it's all dependent on the bicycle you have. But again, don't mess around usually. If you want to check the brakes, like to make sure the brake sensor is not activated, that's why usually throttle will not work. So don't mess around with any tools because you're gonna mess it up even worse. Okay, then people want to adjust the brakes. That's a way to go usually before you start to ride for the first time. So hydraulic brakes adjustment happens only two ways. First, you would need to remove the, loosen up one bolt over here, one bolt over here, the one holding calipers. Do not touch the bolts, this one on the side, any other bolts, don't touch it, okay? You're gonna mess it up. Don't touch this one, only the one holding the caliper, okay? That's all. Hydraulic brakes like that, you don't adjust differently. That's the only way to adjust. So once you loosen it up, you would align it so they will be spaced. It will be harder for me to get here, but you will see from the top or from the side, whichever more comfortable for you, gonna be see the space between disc and the pads. So once you comfortable and see the space from both sides, you tighten them up a little by a little each one, and then make sure you tighten, I believe it's like 7 Nm torque. And another reason, if you're trying to assemble your bike or maintenance your bike, you would need one of the torque wrench tool like this. That's a very important tool actually when you're gonna have a bicycle, regardless electric or none, because you will need to know how much torque you tighten all these bolts and nuts. This one actually good because it's going from 2 Nm torque to 24, so basically it will do most of the job on this bike other than wheel. So you can tighten up, and usually handlebar should be attached. This one I'm not sure how much, I need to check. Every manual which comes with the bike usually will have how much Nm torque you have to put. When the bike shop assemble professionally, they would use one of the similar tool to make sure all the bolts, nuts correctly tighten. If you do by yourself, you may want just to use this one, but don't over tighten sometimes, because over tighten may be as bad as non tighten very well, because the bolts might break. Also make sure the bolts tighten on the brakes as well, because sometimes they may be loosened, so make sure it's not loose. Okay, so once you adjust the brake, but if it's still touching some of the pads, so your disc might be not completely straight 100%, and that happens with many bicycle. I notice it's not because it's damaged, the disc not always flat straight, so I use a wrench tool adjustable to fix it. And I do have video explaining how I do that, so I'll post it as well in description. So you would adjust. Everything good. Now you insert the battery, and now you're about to ready to ride. But let's say every bicycle would have different settings. For example, with goat bike, I'm gonna turn it on, and make sure you know what you're doing, because like goat bike has a lot of features over here, a lot of light. So with goat bike, I'm gonna push the button, it will be turned on. So you need to push power button even you put the key on. And if you don't see any light underneath over here, it's easy to check. So you turn on the bike, and if you don't see even projection light, it means your battery actually dead. So that's actually one of the easy way on the gold bike to check. You can push the button over here, but if there's no power going through, either your cable somewhere disconnected or the battery is dead. So easy to check right away without even turning on the bike over there. You just turn the key, no light means the dead. So now I want to talk about settings. I do have full video about settings. I try to do as detailed as possible. I know I'm not the best maybe to make these videos, but I try my best. My display, it's an older one, so I don't have voltage. Voltage should be more accurate versus the percentage or the battery. When you have a large battery like this, usually they are not accurate meters, so it's not really sending the signals all the way accurately or all the time. That's why some people will see on the bicycle, if they have large battery or dual batteries, when they turn off the bike and turn it on, the percentage will be different and the voltage might be different, because they will do reset and they will recalculate it how much power left. That's my basic understanding. So some people start to ride it and then the power will off. So if you get on gold bicycle, particularly if you get code 06, mean under voltage, so it means you have no juice left, so about 10-15% maybe. It depends on the settings they put at the manufacturer controller. Some of them just only 4 or 5% and then will shut down. So mine is like set to 15%. So when it's 15%, at least 15%, I'll get 06 code. I still can ride it for a little bit, but again, not for long. So to turn the headlight on this particular gold bicycles, you need to push plus sign first, and you'll see the display get darker. You'll see display over here, and then your headlight will work. Okay, right over here will work. If you put it in the middle, it will turn off the headlight. But on gold bikes, the headlights, daylight actually running, always on. So that's why you cannot really turn them off once the bicycle on, but you can adjust low beam or high beam. Okay. Then you have turn signals on the left, right or left, so you can learn it as well while you're learning your bike. So don't try to, and this is a horn, don't try to ride the bicycle right away if you're first time. Try to learn everything, and if you're trying to touch the throttle, make sure your rear wheel in the air, okay? Otherwise it will take off. Never put your fingers when the bicycle on. If you start to work on the bike assembly or adjustment, always have the electric bicycle completely shut down off, okay? Sometimes you would need to remove the battery. If you're trying to replace controller, I recommend to remove the battery usually and discharge by pressing the power button. That's how you do it first. And again, summarize, when you get the new bike, don't try to ride it right away. Try to make everything first set up, okay, working. So you need to adjust usually, and also adjust the derailleur you need. And how to adjust derailleur? Every derailleur would have, most of them would have 2 screws right over here, and I would adjust it. But again, this video is not about how to adjust, but give you some idea. And again, if you don't know how to do that, you have 2 choices. Either learning, it will take some time, not everybody can do that, or take it to the bike shop. Doesn't matter which bike you have, because bike shop, they can do the job. Some of them do not want to work on the electric bicycle because of liability insurance, or just because they don't make much money from cheaper bikes. They try to sell you more expensive, and they work because they have more regular people coming with because people who buying electric bicycle, they don't go to bike shop often because they think this bike will work forever without even touching anything, without maintenance. That's a wrong thinking. That's number one reason bike shop also do not want to work, because you buy electric bicycle, like electric, XP or any bicycle, and then you ride for a year or 6 months until you get the problem. The bike shop recommend to see the bike shop every 100 to 200 miles, depending on the bike you have, but on average 200 miles they ask you to make maintenance adjustment, because you would need to adjust some brakes sometimes if they're touching them, and also to check them, clean everything, clean the chain, lubricate it. You can do everything by yourself if you learn that. If you don't, you would need to take it to the bike shop. They will do it for you. It's not expensive, but again, it must be done with any bicycle, even this bicycle. You have to do it on every 200, 300 miles, depend. The brakes need to be replaced, the pads, much more regular on the faster bike versus to lighter bike, because you're going on the higher speed, they gonna be worn out much faster. On average, brakes should last about over 1,000 miles. With a faster bike, it will be about 500, maybe 700, depending on your braking, what terrain, how you ride it, what speed. So some of them 500, 700 maybe. So don't wait until they're gone, because you must, if they're gone, you might damage the calipers, then you have to replace many parts. The pads are not expensive to replace, but once you start to break them, then it will be more expensive to replace. But again, most of the bike shop can do this for you. So again, never touch the brakes, hydraulic brakes, if you know what you're doing. But if you know what you're doing, yes, but again, those bolts, nuts, everything, it's not meant for adjustment. Okay, so this one is on this bike, this bolt is to fill in some oil, but you cannot just open up and put the oil in, because when you open up, actually it will pop up oil. So you might want to check YouTube videos how to add the oil and how to do bleeding, because sometimes you would need to do bleeding, and bleeding, it's when you push some air inside, so you might get some air inside these cables, so it will push the air through and have only oil. The difference, because when you got like squasher, like brakes, when it's touching the grip, sometimes that's the reason sometimes is not much oil inside, because the leaks, you might want to check for leaks right over here or underneath close to calipers to make sure there's no oil. So if you locate the oil, that it means it's leaking. That can happen due to the damaging to the cable or just defects. So if there's no leaks and you still have no like a squash, like the brakes is not working very well, it's touching the grip, most likely you got some air inside. The air inside will have different kind of, not texture I would say, but compression. So when it's air inside and you push, the oil will push the air and it will be squishy, because there will be no resistance. That's why you don't have a braking. So every time you start to ride the bicycle, hydraulic brakes need to be checked to make sure they're working. If it's a little bit not hard, like touching, you might want to do quickly like this fix, and it will build up the pressure and you probably will be just fine. But if you don't get any pressure, you might need to do bleeding. But if before doing bleeding, you need to figure out, either by yourself or take it to the shop, what caused the issue, because there may be different cause, maybe bleeding, like some oil leak, or maybe some air inside the cable. And I think that's something you would need to do for the first time when you buy bicycles. If you have any questions more than beginners, leave a comment below. If I know, I will try to answer and make another video. But again, number one problems I notice as well, when you already set up everything, but people sometimes don't do the setup. What they do first, they want to change the speed. As soon as they get the bicycle, they want to change the speed to make it faster. So even before they assemble it completely, they go to settings and start to mess around with settings. If you decide to mess around with settings, number one advice for you, record what was before, take a picture, video, what was before, that you can go back and change it, or you would have to do reset. Most of the display would have a reset button, factory reset. So if you really mess it up and you don't remember what you had before, go to reset and make this reset before causing more issue. Because like some of the members I spoke to, they have an issue with the brake sensor. Like they thought they have brake issues and so on. They didn't follow my steps from beginning. That's why they have like almost 2 days issue. They couldn't figure out what the problem. But if they follow my steps of troubleshoot, you will diagnose much quicker. And once you diagnose what the problem is, it's much easier to fix. So if you have throttle is not working, you would need to check to see what can cause. There might be no damages, might be no issue. There might be simple fix by checking the brake sensor, check the sensor like settings, because there's 2 ways of settings. One settings might be only removing the throttle. Then there is another settings in the Goat bicycle and some other bicycle as well, zero start. Okay, now my GoPro went down because of overheat. So back to the settings. So if you have zero start, make sure it's on, because if you have zero start off, it means that this bike have to get up to at least 3 miles an hour in order the pedal assist to work, or the throttle. So the throttle will not work on zero. It's actually a very great feature in settings on Goat bike, or many other bicycles might have it. So it's called zero start. So zero start on will activate it, throttle right away if you use this, or pedal assist when it's pedal assist set to 1 to 5. If you have it off, it means that you will have to pedal up to 3 or 5 miles an hour, depending on the bicycle, before it will activate it. That feature actually good for beginners. And if you're the first time riding the bicycle and you want to be more safer, because a powerful bicycle, sometimes you accidentally can touch the pedals, it will just take off, or sometimes you might touch the throttle, it will just take off. That's why the turn off the zero start would be making this bike not to go right away until you reach the speed 3 to 5 miles an hour. So you would have to pedal in order to start to use. So it's a safety feature. Also, if the bike is too jerky, you might want to change the strength, riding strength. So it should be start strength 1 versus to 5. It can go 1 to 5. So you might want to change in settings to 5. And again, I have video fully how to use the settings, how to use a bicycle. I did it before. And again, I try my best to go all of what you should do and what you shouldn't do on the bike. So never touch the brakes if you don't know how to work with them. Also, don't mess around with the settings, because some settings might just, if you change some settings, they might actually burn the controller as well. All depends on the bicycle. So read the manual before playing around if it's your first electric bicycle. And every electric bicycle might be different, like this bike versus the Goat bike or some other bike. That's why if it's your first or second bike, try to learn, read the user manual if it comes with, try to learn, watch some videos. And thank you guys for watching. Thank you for joining. And if you don't have any bicycle, welcome to check link in description, buy one, and use my code, so you're gonna get discount. The same way you're gonna support my channel. And again, like it, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.